I'm so tired of the New Orleans Saints being the NFL version of assisted living for declining players. But until ownership and management decide to fix the problems, Saints are SOL. We're shit out of luck because we're stuck with same old Loomis. Means doing things the same way and expecting a different result for another season. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. This is not about bringing Derek Carr back as a starter, but how we bring Derek Carr back as a starter. And to be clear, and I can't be any clearer than this. Personally, I do not give a fuck who starts for the Saints in 2025 at starting quarterback. Why? Because it ain't going to be Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is probably the one quarterback on this planet that can take what this roster is currently going to look like in 2025, even if we manage to get some good moves in free agency, even if we manage to make some very good draft picks in this draft, it's still going to be a hard team to win with. And everybody needs to kind of wrap their head around that. They're returning the worst, arguably, defense in the NFL. And most of those guys are coming back and playing again next year, especially according to what Mickey just said in Indy. They're returning an offensive line that is arguably NFL average. And probably being a little generous there. Some people would probably argue it's below average or worse, and likely is. And there may be a few, it's above average, but I don't think you're going to go much higher than that. Either way, it's middle of the pack at best. They're hoping their top offensive playmakers, the guy we're really going to rely on, all going to return from injury healthy and make it through a whole season. Good luck with that. In general, they're hoping to be injury free. And that's always been their go-to excuse since 2021. First year we missed the playoffs. Oh, injuries, which was a lot of bullshit. Last year, arguably, there was the excuse, but nobody wanted to hear it anymore at this point because we had been hearing it. Why we kept not winning the division that was weak that we were supposed to win, not making the playoffs. And part of the reason why you can't legitimately last year recover from injuries is because you let your roster keep deteriorating like you're still doing. Sorry about that, but God, this really got me aggravated. And they're expecting to draft better and sign impact free agents. Apparently, according to what we're hearing out of Indy last week, something they pretty much haven't done this decade in either category. And look, I'm not kidding when I'm talking about this is like the retirement home for declining players in the NFL. Did you think about most of our free agent signings over the last couple of years? By and large, they don't work out here. We pay them a lot of money. We eventually get them to move on, and you find their NFL career just basically dwindles down and goes away. So, look, only true takeaway I have from the comments and some of the Saints beat writers' speculation on what they meant is and either the front office needs psychiatric testing or the front office needs weekly drug testing. Because I don't see how anybody in their right mind can look at what's going on and go, yeah, if we can make the playoffs, we can win a division next year based off what we've been looking at on the roster. Like, well, yeah, I guess if you hope for a lot of good luck, maybe hope and luck seems to be their tactic of choice. That's how they're going to go into battle. Hope we get a little lucky and it works out for us, because that's what they've been doing the last few years, and they're laying the groundwork to do it again. This just getting tiresome. Keep seeing the same song and dance over and over again. In the way that it was dropped in that bombshell kind of coming out of Indy last week is a lot of us, when you're talking about hope, we're going, they're finally getting it. We were looking at the head coaching hire. We were looking at subsequent coaching hires. We were going, hey, There seems to be a fundamental shift or idea of what they're trying to do. They may not be able to get it all done in 2025, but it seems like some working plan work, some framework to go, okay, we're gonna make these changes and move it in the right direction. And I don't think at any point we thought they weren't going to try to be competitive in 2025 doing it, but we were hoping they wouldn't sacrifice future years to make sure they were competitive in 2025. And quite honestly, again, it sounds like nope. We've got the players we need to win in-house. We've got the quarterback we need. We're going to be aggressive in free agency. We're going to have a great draft. We're going to this new blah 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 blah. We've heard it all before. Look, the problem is not Derek Carr, the player, as far as bringing him back to be the starter in 2025. In fact, yes, it is probably true. Just being a veteran is going to help out a lot if you want to be more competitive. He can tap into some level of play. Sometimes that is pretty high. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he taps into some level of play that's not very good at all. I've said it before, say it again. That's the majority of starting quarterbacks in the NFL on some level. Their season just depends on how many times they can hit the high notes, stay away from the low notes. And in generally speaking, most of them need a team around him. It's just simply not something he's necessarily going to have in 2025. So clearly, we need for this conversation to take that portion of it out for a second so we can talk about the contract. And it's not his fault, and I'm not banging on him. Look, right now, I get a phone call and say, hey, you want to come quarterback for the Saints? We're going to give you Derek Carr's contract. A, yeah, I'm not worth that. B, I'm damn sure going to take it because it's a shit ton of money. No reflection on him. This all balls back to our front office putting us in this position. But we're in this position. And what is this position? Let's go to over the cap. And one of the best ways I can show you to break down the contract and what it means, because I think just a lot of people, they understand the concept, but I hear and see a lot of just stuff that's sort of true, but not basically. Let's see if we can simplify it so we get down to the real core of the matter. And what the core of the matter is, that's what Carr's contract looks like currently. Now, the real situation is this isn't real yet. What I mean by that is his cap number, they keep talking about the 51, and I've read and heard this said over and over about cutting him, going, well, you can't pay him $51 million for him to go play somewhere else. First thing we got to clear up. That is an inaccurate statement on so many levels. It's not even funny. Right now, this contract, as it sits, ignore this 30 million over here because it isn't guaranteed yet. And we'll get to that in a second. He basically has no salary in 2025 or 2026 in the sense of none of that is guaranteed. In fact, the 50 million in 2026 has not one penny guaranteed at any point, and that's an important point. What the contract basically is right now, so he had a 10 million non-prorated roster bonus from last year, guaranteed this year. He's getting 10 million. And his cap number falls to 21 million because of the dead money. Right now, his dead money left on his contract through 2025 to 2026 is a total of 40 million, or actually 40.132 million. Plus the 10 million in guaranteed is how you get to that cap number that if you would cut him that you're dealing with for this year, which is 50.132 million. If you do the math, if you cut him this year, you actually save about 1.3 million. And he's off your books for good. All this goes away because and when I mean all this, I mean everything in this column goes away. As long as you cut him before or designate him a post June 1st cut before March 15th. Because the reality situation is when March 15th hit, if he's still on your roster, this is what happens. You're still not paying him this. What you're paying him is that. He's now a $40 million quarterback this year. Nobody in their right mind can argue that he should be paid $40 million this year to quarterback this team. And it's not necessarily based on what he brings to the table. We simply can't afford to do that. Now, I would be okay with, but he's not, because he's publicly said not taking a pay cut. Okay, I get that. So if you want to keep him around, now you're talking about a restructure. That's basically what the restructure would be based off of. And it would clear up over $30 million, roughly about $30 million in cap space for you. However, this doesn't show a straight restructure, how that hits the Saints long term. So in a simple restructure of this mess, that $30 million, that's what you're restructuring. You're going to drop his base salary down to his veteran minimum. The remainder of that $30 million is now have to go into a prorated bonus. Drops his cap number significantly, so you have a cap savings there. You've now raised his total dead money from that $40 million. Basically, you've raised it to roughly $28.8 million you've just gave to him as a prorated signing bonus, and you've extended that proration, that dead money. You're borrowing more cap space in an additional year because now it's going to hit all the way to 2029. What you basically have done there, if you stop back and think how we started this decade in 2020, is because we kept doing that with Drew Brees, extending the years, the signing bonuses, reworking his deal, restructuring to the point where it was a gobsmacked bunch of dead money in 2020 that all came due once he retired. You keep adding dead money like this and years onto it by doing stuff like this, you're turning Derek Carr into Drew Brees in a sense. Because what you're doing is you're going to keep tying him to your roster. Because you're going to keep hitting a point where you say, well, we just can't eat the dead money hit. We have to restructure him. We can't eat the dead money hit. We've got to extend him. We can't eat the dead money hit. We've got to renegotiate. It just gets ridiculous after a while. And if you're talking about taking him all the way to 2029, which is a good possibility if you just do a straight restructure on him, he's going to be pushing age 40 by the time you get out from under this. And at some point, you got to break the cycle and quit doing it. Because if you don't, then you're definitely taking him past age 40 and you take him into the next decade. The only way that I could see makes sense to satisfy everybody, and if this doesn't satisfy Derek Carr, then we've got issues. He doesn't want to take his pay cut. He wants his $40 million in guarantee that we cannot possibly pay all in 2025. I don't understand why you just can't go to him and say, well, if that's what you want, what we can do is renegotiate your deal. We're going to give you $20 million in base or $10 million in base this year, fully guaranteed along with your $10 million that you already have. There's 20 of your 40. And we're going to fully guarantee your $20 million next year. So your $40 million is now guaranteed. Your $20 million guaranteed a year quarterback. You're still reducing cap numbers. But you know what you're not doing? You're not creating more dead money and adding years that could potentially keep them around till 2030 before it's all said and done. And sending a clear message right now, we're not tied to this money indefinitely. We are going to whittle it down. Because after 2025, after that season ends, as long as you don't extend him with a signing bonus, You're only going to have 28.674 million in dead money left on his contract. After 2026, which would basically turn this into void years, you're down to 17.216 million. Now, if he's saying, I want my 40 million and I want guarantees I'm still going to be on the roster in 27 and 2028, and now I think you're back into a cut situation. So if he wants guarantees, no, in 2027, 2028, in other words, keep restructuring slash basically renegotiating more terms to keep him around. That's what we kept doing with Drew Brees. Why I made that specific point going, no, it stops now. And not just with him. Key difference is we were only doing it with Drew Brees for the most part over that time. Then we started adding other players towards the end as we crept in the late 2010s. And now we seem to do it with everybody. It's like we're addicted to restructures. Got to stop, and it may have to start with Derek Carr. This all evolves around Derek Carr. Get the highest salary. He's got the highest dead money. He's got the highest cap numbers. That's what this all boils down to. And at some point, Mickey needs to go to rehab and stop this addiction with just throwing money and turning this into the retirement home for declining players. SOL, the same old Loomis, attitude that he was putting out there last week. We can win with what we got. Just need to get lucky and hope everything works out. As long as we look past the results and, of course, a result-based business, everything's fine. We're a Super Bowl winning team. But Miss Gale, seriously, some type of counseling, some type of rehab, psychiatric tests. I don't know, but our front office has a mind like a bag of cats. It just makes no sense, and you just don't want to jump into one. But I can't figure out what the plan is here. I cannot figure out how doing the same old Loomis, SOL, is going to get us where we need to be anytime in the near future. And I'm not just talking 2025, 26, 27 and beyond. It's got to stop. Let me know what you think in the comments down there. I have a pretty good guess. It's going to fall into one of two categories. Everybody thinking that I'm banging on Derek Carr and hating on him. No. But I can't clearly state it any more than I've tried to clearly state. Too many bad contracts. He's one of them. And everybody else, pretty much, there was a lot of, in fact, some of y'all in the comments wanting to know if I'd ever give a rant and rave on it. I had to take my time with it. But honestly, I think everybody's just getting fed up. And if this is the route he's going to go, look, 9 wins, sneaking a division championship and getting blown out in the dome in a home playoff loss is not what we're looking for, Mickey, at this point. You're going into year 5. If you're not willing to say the R word, whether it's rebuild or reset or whatever you want to do, and you think we need to just keep looking past the results, it's time somebody holds you accountable in ownership, Miss Gale, and say, no, we want results in 2025 if you're going to keep going down this road. It's that simple. So it's where we are on the day before Mardi Gras. So this is going to be it till live stream Wednesday. I'm waiting to hear more about what's coming out. As opposed to all this, it was this bombshell last week and crooked since. Now, I will say this before I sign off. Late yesterday in the Combine, Rap Sheedy and Rappaport breaks this breaking news. The Jets are moving on from Davante Adams. They say they're getting phone calls from teams interested in a trade, but if they can't work out a trade, they're releasing him. I swear, if one of those phone calls was from Mickey freaking Loomis wanting to bring in Davante Adams because, hey, Derek Carr needs his guy, I'm going to completely lose my shit. And you will get a full blown rant at that point. I may even kick and scream, headbutt some holes in the walls behind me. I don't know. But I am just praying we are not one of those teams. Damn sure don't want to trade for him. And even if they cut him, I'm not interested in that. Oh, we're going to be active in free agency. It's a combination of both is really starting to scare me that we're going to completely go over the rails the other way as far as restructuring for the next 10 years in contracts. So hopefully it ain't that. Uh, we'll see y'all all on Wednesday. And until I do, I'm Tim. Everybody have a safe and very good Mardi Gras tomorrow. I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.